Banana and Bears Rugby Pod.
Like, and they're going,
Oh, Jesus,
do you know
yeah.
Nora's a bitch? Like, you know.
Yeah. I actually, do you know what? My Spanish has started to disimprove with the amount of podcasts and stuff that I'm doing in English. I'm not even joking. Now, my foot injury hasn't helped because I've actually I spent so much time here doing nothing, trying to rest my foot, that I haven't been talking enough. And as well, like the amount of people I spoke to over the weekend, and podcasts as well, my Spanish has started to disimprove. So that'll show you now.
Well, right. Well, that's a great way to start the podcast. Hey,
Hello, everyone.
how's it going? Welcome to what is now season 2 of Banana. We made it to a second season, Banana and Bears Rugby Podcast, albeit we have just jumped onto a following week. Because this season is going to be dedicated to the women's TikTok Six Nations. I had no idea. I had no idea TikTok were so big that they could sponsor a Six Nations. Holy sweet Jesus.
I know.
Incredible. We
No.
can't drink TikTok though. That's the only thing. We cannot drink TikTok.
No, but we can continue to drink Estrella.
Estrella.
Estrella. And Murphy's without conflict of interest.
Perfect.
Yes.
So I mean, like we said, we were going to put before all that. I was actually, I get my woes out of the way. I was having a great week last week after the Six Nations chat and all the rest of it, just going fine. And I got hit with a flu of some sort. I thought it was the...
Jesus, what are you going to say, hit by a car?
Oh no, I've been hit by cars and it didn't hurt like this thing. I've been hit at least 4 times by cars and it didn't hurt. I don't know what kind of a dose I woke up Thursday morning with. I mean, I don't know what. I sweating out my ear holes. Like, I thought, here we go. So I tested both nostrils on several occasions. Didn't get the 2 blue lines. Or that'd be, I mean, I was pregnant. No.
Oh, congratulations.
The 2 red lines. So I spent Thursday and Friday in the most horrendous a sickness that I've never in all my life had. Never had anything. It felt like exactly like the worst hangover you've ever had. But now, can you imagine it going? You haven't had any nice drink to create that. It just crept up in you. Somebody poured it into your pocket. Walking home one evening, and it just, oh my. So I fought every bit of the way on Saturday with every kind of stripsel I could to have a very fun gig on Saturday night with the queen of stand-up comedy.
Very good. Yeah, how did it go?
Unbelievable to watch royalty. Hold on, I'm going to pause that 1 second. She proved why she is the true, as I brought her on stage, as the upstanding for the true queen of Irish stand-up comedy, and she proved it. She's like anybody who could even stuck their head in the door, which you couldn't have gotten a fag paper between the people inside there. That it was glorious into sweaty. It was a euphoric kind of mix of people didn't think to get out their phones. Do you know, it was just pure
joy.
45 minutes of Deirdre came with her foot to the absolute effing floor. I mean, and through the floor, scraping off the ground. She was nuclear. She went nuclear. And it was because it was her birthday. I left a couple of gins up on the stage for her. She was like, "Now we're sucking diesel, Tommy. Wait, you basically hold my coat, Tommy. Wait, you see this." And it was like, wow. You just bow down to the queen. That's how you do it. That's how you does stand up.
Unreal.
Yeah, it was unreal just to witness it. Like, and I've opened for her a bunch, and we've had great gigs, but it was really. I knew she put sauce on that. Like, she came down to my club, and she knew she was the marquee signing of the season so far. Like,
oh yeah,
he came down and she, oh Jesus, the paint was coming off the wall.
Treat.
Oh, people were just levitating going out the door. And my throat collapsed immediately as soon as we all said goodbye and walked out the doors. The stage health is an amazing thing. And that's why I was going to, there is stage health. Like
Adrenaline is like, fuck it. If we could bottle up adrenaline and sell it.
Oh, we probably could, I'd say. Actually, you can. Remember in Pulp Fiction when she died of the coke overdose and he injected her into the heart? That was adrenaline he shot her with, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, you can do adrenaline shots. Well, I'm kind of thinking more of an everyday thing.
I know. Yes. If you could, it'd get you over.
You drink it in the morning, like you could just boil it up and put get sachets of it.
If I could have had a sachet of it Thursday morning when I woke up with my head like a sack of shite, it would have been amazing. But yes, it was great. And then I was meant to leave you a message going, but I should have actually tried to leave you a message on Sunday because it would have topped your misery message last week. Because if I went to record, it would have sounded like, oh yeah, no. I have to tell you. It was horrendous. How's the foot? Obviously, I mean, it's not fully mended yet. But you're heading to training and stuff, so at least you're keeping an eye on things.
I am, but I'm coaching tonight. I won't be running on it now until next week, so it's still going to get another week of rest. I can walk grand, but I'm when you're kind of compensating a little bit, which can then lead to further problems. So I just need to be careful with it, but. It's good. It improved loads. I was using a crutch.
Yeah.
I finally got a crutch. Remember last week I was saying
you borrowed one off a buddy.
Yeah, so I was going around like an old lady. But grand, can walk away grand now, which is good, but it's still not 100%, so it still needs a bit of time. But jeepers. Oh yeah, I had planned to go to Madrid actually, but I change my plans and I'm going to go this weekend because South Africa are playing Spain and USA are playing Canada on Saturday as well, so I'll have to fit in the Six Nations games around that. But I know loads of the girls, so I'm going to go over and see them play and visit them in Madrid and then watch the Six Nations around that. And Champions Cup is back this weekend as well. I actually did an interview in the paper yesterday here in Spain. Jeez, I talked some amount of shite. I'd say, I don't know what.
In Spanish?
In Spanish, yeah. I don't know what they're going to print in the newspaper. Like, could be anything. But they were asking kind of what's the biggest difference between rugby in Spain and rugby at home, and I was like, well, I think one of the things I can see is that the general understanding of the game isn't as strong here in Spain because there's no rugby on the telly. And then they were, I was saying, like, I watched rugby like most weekends. They're like, how many games would you watch a weekend? I was like, I don't know, it depends how many were on. Like if there was 10 games on, I'd watch the 10 games, like. And he was like, really? So 10? Will I include 10? Did you watch 10 games every weekend? And I was like, yeah, sure, what? But it could be 10. Do you know, if you had the chance to watch?
Oh, listen.
If you had the chance to watch all of them. It certainly used to be in the days when the women's and the men's was on at the same time and you'd watch the under-20s as well. Like you could watch the 9 games in the weekend. And then if Munster or any of the provinces were playing as well. So, but we won't fluff around anymore. Tough old weekend.
Where did you watch it?
I watched it here at home on my laptop on the dodgy box because I wanted to hear the commentary. That's the thing, because a few girls were kind of like, oh, let's go out and watch it. And I think a few of them got together to watch it. I just really wanted to hear the commentary in English. So watched it at home on my Toblerone and then went out for some tapas afterwards to cool the jets because it was an old roller coaster to say the least. Now, like, jeepers, it's so ironic because what I've wanted and what so many people have wanted for so long, and like it's funny you talk about the TikTok thing because that's part of it as well. Coverage for the women's game, coverage, support, journalists covering it, people talking about it, podcasts, everything. That is literally like on fire, that whole front of women's sport and women's rugby at the moment. And it's just so heartbreaking that we are in the position that we're in at the moment, where everything is taking off. Everyone's making progress. You could argue that, Ireland are making progress as well, but it has been so glacial, at such a glacial pace, that we're so far behind. I'm there telling people, you have to get down to support the women's games. Go, 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 bring everyone. And people are going to turn up to, games. And I wouldn't sugarcoat it anyway, that like, look, we're in the position we're in, and we might not beat France, we might not beat England, but we certainly have a chance against, the other three teams. But to have been handed a scoreline like that versus Wales is that's the game. They're the games you need to win.
So
and they're the
31-5 for anybody who didn't catch it. 31-5.
31-5, yeah.
I mean, that's getting an arse slapping, like, this. I mean, it's not taking 50, which is the absolute kick in the teeth, but it is 30. I think there could have been 50. Had Wales put a few more things together, it could have been. But
yeah.
I mean, to hold them to that at the same time, given some of the players they have, I thought personally, I could see positives in it. A big positive I took was this, and I was listening to it was actually the BBC commentary they had, that I was watching in and out of the bar, and what they were saying was like, and it brought my mind straight back. It was like 3 years ago, or was it 2 years ago? Like Wales were shipping 40 points.
Yeah.
So I mean, all people need to understand is it'll only take 2 years, really. There is a great groundwork here in groundworks in rugby. 2-3 years, and we can get the women back sucking diesel again. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes, but yes, you're right, and I agree, and it's going to take time, and we have to be patient. But I'm so cynical, and I'll fully admit that.
Yeah.
I'm very cynical. I'm impatient, and I'm not going to, good things are being done. Great, but I'm not going to sit back and wait for next 2 years. I'm going to make sure that those things are being done from whatever way I can, by just talking about it and covering it and talking to my friends and talking on podcasts and things like that. I'm not going to sit back and be like, right, the IRFU have a plan. I fully trust them, and I'm warranted to say that because they lost our trust for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
I and others, we're entitled to feel this way, to feel a bit impatient. And look, I know they've put a plan together. There's a million different ways you could do things around Irish women's rugby, like going forward, but they've decided on the areas of progress that they're going to focus on. And so I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, great, that's great. Now we'll just wait 2 years and we might beat Wales, who will continue to progress as well. But it's not Wales should be aiming to beat. Like, we used to be able to beat England and France. Like, that's what we need to be aiming for again. And sorry, this is all of the conversations are like this week. We can't really focus on the rugby. There's so many kind of, I'm just disappointed for the girls. They didn't play as well as they could. Like, so the scoreline says one thing, but also, when people referring to, look, the scoreline is this way because people aren't professional, but also think that the girls will be disappointed with how they played as well. And there's a lot of shuffling around positions and stuff. Like, usually things that you get to practice in a warm-up game. Like, we always had a warm-up game versus Wales, actually. It used to be versus Spain, and then they kind of had this agreement with Wales that 1 year we'd go to Wales, then they'd come to us. And you'd go and you'd bring your squad of 30 whatever, and everyone would get to play. And anything that the management are thinking in terms of, like, would she be able to link up with her in this position, etc., you try it out then. But it seemed like they were trying it on Saturday in the first game, which is very frustrating because this is when it counts. And, if anyone as well doesn't know, the top 3 places in this Six Nations, which I'm sure going on kind of previous, unless there are any upsets, like England and France will take first and second position. 3rd place is kind of what all the other teams have been aiming for in the last few years. But 3rd place this year means that you qualify for the WXV tournament that's starting next year. So this is a whole new worldwide tournament. It's like a yearly world series for 15s, essentially.
So it's like sevens. It's almost like sevens for 15s.
Almost, yeah.
Amazing.
So it's going to be, it'll be like November internationals, tiered.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So the top 40, or sorry, however many number of teams will play a series together in whatever one of the host countries is, and then there'll be a second tier, and then there'll be a third tier. And Ireland are fighting now to get into the second tier, when actually we should,
Yeah.
given how good the men's team are and how brilliant like the men's and the under-20s are and how well supported they are and they have been, why can't we expect the same for the women? And like, why can't we go and be in that world 15s, WXV like tournament? It's just we'll get there, but I'm not gonna sit back and be like.
So what do you see happening over the next couple of weeks? Because they can only improve as they stay together now in camp.
Yeah,
now, they did, like you said, positional changes, because there was a few points where they looked at 6s and 7s taking the ball standing and stuff like that, and it was almost like, Jesus Christ, they have moved you. Like, you're not confident in your positioning, like on where you're supposed to be. This is trainers' issue. This is a trainer's fault. Whoever is at fault here. This is because you've got 15, so you can see they're athletes, but they're kind of going, but now for anybody wanting an example, Bundyaki was put one position out against Italy, and he was like his arse was hanging in the wind. One position out, and that's a guy who's playing at a professional level. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, so it can be very unsettling. And they were moving around a lot. And considering they'd only had 2 camps together before playing this game, sure, how could you get sufficient? Like, if it's a new experience for you, like there's girls playing out of position different to what they play in their club.
Yeah.
So it's but it's interesting, from Wales, and I was listening to, it was probably the BBC commentary, I don't know, because it was through a dodgy box, so like whatever. And they were talking about, the Wales contracts, and wow, they can really see it kind of, where they've come from and how far they've gotten and all the rest. But like, I was living with one of the Welsh players last year when they were giving out their contracts, and they were talking about contracts, and it was just so interesting to hear what they were being offered and who they were choosing to support. And it also wasn't like, they also haven't got it right fully. They made a lot of mistakes, very trial and error. They kind of, a very weird thing for Wales is that they seem to be rewarding players not rewarding the players that seem to deserve it the most, but rewarding the ones that they could bring up to the level of the others, if that makes any sense. But like, that's what they, trial and error in terms of giving out contracts. But you can see that it's although they've made mistakes and they were like not too happy with it, and they were kind of up and down, in and out, they've made serious progress.
But I mean, you'd say, okay, the Welsh women got weird and shitty contracts. You go, okay, well, that is kind of indicative of Wales at the minute. The Irish women, no contracts at all. And they, on the other side, then they have probably 3 or 4 fellas who could be going for World Player of the Year. You're like, what in the name of Jesus, lads? What the Jesus? How did that fall?
There are contracts. Ireland, some of the Irish players have contracts, but again, it was kind of messy. A lot of players had to turn it down, very much trial and error in terms of what was being offered, what players could accept. So there are some, mostly like the young players that are on full-time contracts now, but a lot of girls that had to turn it down because there would be a significant pay cut for them because they have established like real careers. But look, I don't want to kind of like, hone in too much on stuff that's kind of, typical women's rugby, there's always something else to talk about as opposed to the rugby on the pitch.
Yeah.
And like, you know, then I actually was listening to people reviewing like the Munster game. Munster played really badly, didn't they?
Oh my God, yeah. I will say I absolutely missed it, but I was keeping an eye on it on Twitter because again I was
so was
setting up
I,
the
and
club.
I know, and I saw the score and I was like, Jesus, like, so even these things continue to happen.
Yeah.
But at least I suppose there would be questions around like Munster's development, like how do they allow scores like that to happen, and where are they at, and what does it mean for their, well, especially when you look at, because it was a second string team, I suppose. And if you look at Leinster's second string team, I know we're always talking about Munster, Leinster, and Connacht and Ulster deserve to be like, brought into the conversation as well. But like when you look at Leinster's like full squad and their second team, like that's a real talking point in the men's game. But actually at the end of the day, you get to go back and focus on like how they played and the players themselves and all the line out and everything. Whereas all this week I've been talking about the background stuff of it's easier for me to talk about that, to be honest, because talking about the players, they're my friends, and like I know a lot of them so well, and I don't want to criticize them, even though they know themselves that if they miss a tackle, that's not international standard and that's not their own standards, and they'll be accountable to that. Like, but they don't need me being like, she misses tackles or whatever. I don't know, just as an example. Like, so it's almost easier for me not to talk about like how they play unless they play really well.
Well, in all fairness, if you were trying to stop that girl, is she one of the
Cecilia Tuipulotu? I played with her.
Is she of the two Pilatos?
The
man Sam, is it? Is the other guy?
The
Scottish guy, no?
In Scotland. They're definitely related.
You ain't stopping that girl from 4 meters out. I know. she's only 19. Good God Almighty. Good God Almighty.
I played with her last year in Gloucester, and and like I'd been playing with her, or at least training with her for a couple of weeks, and I found out she was 18, because that's when I was just like, you are 18. Like, I was floored. I couldn't believe it. But she's great, and she's so humble. Like in her post-match interview, like the first thing she did was like thank the Lord, like real family, specific family values. Like, so I hope she can stay like injury free and stay on top of things. But like, jeepers, coming in at that level at 19, like where is she going to be in however many years time? Like, it's just, but she played second row and back row for us in Gloucester, so even new stuff again for her to go into the front row. So like, fair play to her, and she got player of the match. Like,
I also I love the Irish try. Did you see the latch for the Irish try? Is it what is her name? Or the second row.
I'm trying. Sam Monaghan.
Is it Monaghan that went in over for the try? But I'm trying to think of the latch. The woman who latched onto her. Oh my God, the speed of it! Like, you wouldn't see James Ryan getting the latch on, but because normally the latch, you're not allowed to actually hook onto your player now prior to them receiving the ball, so you can't pre-hook onto their jersey. I had.
I'm trying to see it here because I don't actually know.
It was Nicola Friday. That was it.
Sorry.
Nicola Friday was the captain.
Nicola scored it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Who did the latch? So
it might have been. I can't remember who went it. Jesus, was it? Who was it?
Probably was Sam Monaghan. Could have been Niamh Jones.
But it was like the speed of a cat. I thought it was actually in fast forward. Like, you wouldn't have, like, it was such a tiny detail that I went, it kind of gave me joy, because it gave me more joy than it normally would. I went, there's a spark right there's this. You see, fuckers, if you just let him alone and don't be bothering him with nothing and just train like like who fucking mad yokes for giving 6 weeks to
Yeah.
train. Like
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
it was the
yeah.
speed of the latch, because this is a thing, right? I know we're going to have a whole series called How to Rugby, but when you see the big tall second rows, you'll obviously a lot of time you'll see him quite close to the line, waiting to receive the ball.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to have the person who's going to help them, who, i.e., shove their shoulder up their backside. They're not allowed to have them physically hold on to them. And if there is, they're only allowed one. Two
Yeah.
or three at a time isn't allowed anymore.
Yeah.
But a really good one will stand off and make it look like, hey, man, I'm just going to run by myself. And they won't cover the person who's going to come in and latch. Well, Jesus Christ, the latch that came in so fast and so snaky that there
I'm
was...
trying to see it, but we actually, I feel like this is probably similar way that they've trained it, but like we'd actually get whoever picks the ball to come a little bit sideways, and then whoever latches comes in straight to straighten you up, so that you don't have to like crash straight into the first defender. You actually try to get outside her, and then
That's
you
maybe
come in
what
at an angle.
I probably, because it was from like an absolutely horizontal perspective. It was from directly behind, so I couldn't tell if she was coming at an angle or not. So that does make sense that she would have been able to latch in on a snaky way. But they locked in together like two magnets. Do you know what I mean?
No.
It was just a lovely, lovely latch, and hell or high water wouldn't have stopped her. It was such a lovely latch that there was something in that I went, oh, that's elite level stuff. That is now. That's not throw the arm around her there and drive into it. Was real. There was something in it that I went, yeah, there's these the
But
women are going.
that's what they're good at. Like they need
Yeah.
to use that a bit more. But yeah, they didn't start to flow and get that energy around things until like the second half. So I feel like I'm excited about that they finished on that note. So they're like, right, that's how we know we can play. Let's keep using those things, and
I
which
suppose
they just didn't get to in the first half.
it could have been like a bloody damp wet cloth to the face too. The first half, you know what I mean? Wales,
I know.
Jesus Christ, they come at you, and you're like, and you're trying to catch your breath. It's the first round of the Six Nations. A lot of people are nervous. You can get caught, as I said about Bundy Aki, with your arse hanging in the wind there, and for a full 40 minutes before you know where. Oh, Jesus Christ, we're 28 points behind. Right, trying to put the foot down. As we said, it happened to Munster the other night. They were 28 points down before they. Now, in saying that, here's the thing: Leinster were 22 points down and came back to level the game to level the game for 22 points. Now, Munster came back, but you can get caught cold in the wind if you've been out for a long time. So I suppose the hope, because Ireland play. Where do they play? Scotland, France next weekend.
France this weekend in Cork. France played Italy at the weekend. Now they weren't great. They're still good. Like they're like the men's team, I think. Like they kind of, they'll turn up like completely on fire. And like they're in Cork, so like the Irish team like will be feeling like, okay, this is definitely somewhere we can score points and build a bit more confidence for ourselves. Like they'll be expecting France to be a little bit like down and a little bit like that they can kind of chip away at them a little bit. So that's what I'm hoping for. And like, if you're a player that's come off the back of a bad performance and you're coming in like, or if you're a team and you're coming against like a team that plays well, you have to believe that you're going to perform well and that they're going to be vulnerable. You have to believe that. Like you can't just, be sitting in the dressing room beforehand being like, sure, what's the point of being here anyway? They're so good. Like that's never going to work.
What will take, like, is now, am I speaking like a naive, like UFC kind of person who would say, fuck what happened last week? I don't give a shit who the fuck they are. They're in our house. Let's fucking mow them down.
Absolutely.
How dare they show up here thinking that they even have a hope? Fuck them.
Absolutely.
Like I and if you get defeated, so fucking what? We'll deal with that at the end of the game. Like, the notion that any coach would ever let their team out on the field, not believing that they can absolutely mow down these bastards and
Absolutely.
send it back to France with a pin in their hole.
Absolutely.
I'm sure they don't, but I would hate to imagine that to be, hey, give it your best shot, girls. You know, if I
No.
fucking, that would
No.
really send me over the edge. Like,
No, and like the players, and especially like Nicola, the captain, like that would never, they wouldn't even cross their minds. You have to
Right.
believe, like you, and not a case of like, oh, okay, I better start believing now. No, you genuinely believe, like, okay, this is going to be a day for us, a good day for us, and a bad day for them.
Yeah.
That's that's what Italy in the men's Six Nations have to believe
That's what I
every
mean.
time.
And they're disgusted when they lose. They're absolutely disgusted. You see it,
Yeah.
like, you really believe, and that'll come right then, like, you know.
Yeah. But I thought Italy were good as well. So Italy, sorry, I'll just talk about Italy, France while we're on it. Italy, France was good. Italy are in very good shape, kind of comparison to previous years.
Shout out to that woman. Is it Sam? What's her name? Oh God.
For Ireland.
No, for Italy. She went off for a HIA at one stage. I only got to see the highlights of it, but she 112 caps or something, or more even. She had a ludicrous amount of caps. And she's something
What's
like,
her name? That's
it begins
oh
with a
my
B,
God.
and it's very Italian sounding.
I feel like saying Bergamasco, but it's like
it's like Baratoni or something like that.
yeah, her, yeah.
I should
I
have
know
the
her.
list up.
I played against her so many times. I know she's
Yeah, because it sounds like she's never ever missed a game. Like, Jesus Christ.
I know. Imagine having that experience.
Yeah.
But I'll come back to that in a minute. Italy, they're obviously, again, full time. They were at the World Cup full time as well. You can see it in their body shape, like that they've changed physically, their body shape, and they'll be very disappointed that they didn't pip France, because France hadn't won in Italy since 2017. So that was a real monkey off France's back. Yeah, Italy have beaten them like a handful of times in their last few meetings. So Italy will definitely have felt like they let that one slip. So, but Italy, I feel, have a fear of Ireland as well. So I feel like that'll be an interesting one. Depends how the teams grow across the next few weeks. But it was pouring rain in Parma. I was like, oh Jesus, there were so many handling errors, which was really frustrating. Because you can't get into a game and there's so many handling errors.
I know.
The weather, especially from the French, they're so good. They've such good handling skills. But yeah, France came away, and like Italy were in it up until the last couple of minutes, like, so France came away with the win there. But going back to like the number of caps, so England played Scotland after with the late Saturday evening game. Did you see any of it?
No, I didn't, because of the gig. No.
So yeah, they absolutely handed Scotland their arse, which is expected.
Oh yeah.
They no, it's so funny. Scotland still were able to do some really like positive things. It's so funny. You could lose 50 points to nothing to England and still be like, Jesus, there was loads of positives there. That's how big the gap is, you know. But like England had a prop get her first cap for them who used to play for Canada. So that's that new rule in play.
If you've been out of the game for or after,
yeah, and
right?
You're allowed to avail of that law change if you have parents from she obviously English parents or grandparents, parent or
Right.
grandparent. So that's how you're allowed to change. So yeah, that was very interesting. Like I feel like very kind of peculiar thing to happen in English rugby, especially in the women's game. But they had so many injuries as well, England, like, so they're kind of peeled back a good bit. But my God, their squad is still absolutely fire. Like, there's girls there that didn't get to go to the World Cup that are just like back ready to rock. But they had Sarah Hunter, who's their captain, retire.
Oh yeah, you were telling me this. Yeah.
Yes. So she is the most capped English rugby player. She had, after Saturday, she's bowed out now at 141 caps. It's the most caps of any English player. Like it's actually really annoying. If you Google it, most capped English rugby player, Jason Leonard comes up with 122. And who's the other fella? I don't know.
Lawrence Delaley or somebody. Yeah.
No, it's Youngs, Ben Youngs, is that right?
Oh, has he? Right. Oh, yeah. He has over 100. All right. Yeah.
114 caps. So Sarah Hunter has 141. Rocky Clark has 137 or something like that. But they don't appear on the list of England's most capped rugby players, which is total bullshit because they are England's most capped rugby players. And you can't find it. Like, it doesn't appear in any Google search. Like, and actually in New Zealand, they're doing a campaign about that to like correct the internet, because if all of the default results are men's results, like I was looking for, I just put into my search bar Ireland v Wales. I was trying to get stats or something. Ireland v Wales stats on Saturday. Nothing. I don't know how far you'd have to go down to find the women's game, which was on that day.
Yeah.
It's very annoying. Like, and it's something that needs to be like rectified somehow. I don't even know how you'd suggest doing it, but there's a campaign in New Zealand going on about it. It's very interesting. But I just think about like, and Marley Packer is going to take over now next week from for captaincy. She has 90 caps.
Jesus.
And Ireland altogether have just about over 100 caps.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So yeah, experience like pouring out their ears, like
pouring out their ears, definitely. But like the amount of playing opportunities that those girls have got now, they've been in the squad for ages. But like Ireland have always had young girls coming into the squad, and one way or another, they just don't make it like past 30, 40, 50 caps. Like, so few players have reached 50 caps. It used to be more kind of back in the day, but it's changed so much in the last few years. They just keep bringing in, like, replacing older players, or older players are just like, I've had enough and I'm out or whatever. So it's just crazy. Like, Nicola Friday has the most caps. Do you want to guess how many she has?
56.
29.
She's the most capped player.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of injuries and stuff, and she's been consistently in the squad the last few years, but she had an awful lot of disappointment as well. And it's just the playing opportunities. Like, even if you're injured, you don't miss that many games.
No.
So yeah, it's just a bit cracked. And I just feel very down about it. I cried a lot over the weekend. I feel very upset about where we're at, and like I can't imagine how the players feel, but the thing is, if you're in there, at least you're like, okay, I can do something about it now, whereas I'm just sitting here.
Yeah. Well, of course, I mean, you have a tangible connection to the bloody thing. Like, it's not like, not just a fan. You're like, Jesus Christ.
Yes, but I also said, like, when I retired last year, and like it was kind of out of my hands, it wasn't really on my terms. I'm still coming to terms with accepting it. But also I said that, like, you can't really use your voice as a player. It's too risky.
Okay.
So when I retired, I was like, okay, well, now I've got nothing to lose. So this is me talking about it. And people will say, like, oh, it's because she's bitter, or it's because I'm like, yeah, I am. I'm bitter and I'm cynical and I'm impatient with the progress. And I'm going to keep battering away. And I know that there are brilliant people in there doing good things, and there are also a lot of people that are harder to deal with and not as and need a push. But like, I'm backing those good people, and I'm still gonna say what I want to say.
Yeah, of course.
So,
There's hardly anybody more qualified to talk about it, really. Like, I mean, I could sit here and bitch, moan, and complain, but I really don't know the insides and outsides of what should be happening. I just stand there going, but somebody just get out the fucking checkbook and sort this shit.
Yeah.
That's just get out the check. That's my answer to everything, really. It's like,
I
just
know.
bust out the fucking checkbook. Just come
But,
on.
like,
We'll put
if
your
you
name
look
on the
at-
jersey. It's fine. Come on.
Yeah, and if you look at, do you know, England will probably, it mightn't be this year, but certainly at the World Cup, they will sell out Twickenham Stadium.
Phenomenal, like.
They've already sold 40,000 tickets. Like, it'll be even more after the weekend. There'll be tens of thousands of people in Twickenham the weekend they play France, whatever weekend that is. Do you know the return on the investment is already here for them?
Yeah, sure. It's there to be
You know?
proven. It's there to be proven. Like, you see it. Like, sure, the under-20s packed out Musgrave Park last night. Like, do you know, the case in point. There you go.
Yeah.
Look at it.
Yeah.
It's a sport that we already really like, and you have an avenue that we need to exploit is the wrong word, but you know, exploit, if you're talking in business terms, it is exploit the avenue that hasn't been exploited.
Like in any business.
Yeah. Get after it.
Like in any business. Now, I actually have to go because I need to put on some pants before I go to training. I was saying earlier, it's 21 degrees, would you believe? 21 degrees.
Suffering, so sweet Jesus. So first round of next weekend coming in Musgrave Park. It's a 3:00 game. Of course, I'm up in Dublin gigging because Musgrave Park is only an hour down the fucking road from me, but I'm going to be in Dublin. Jesus Christ.
Do you know what? To be fair, I had I was talking to my sister after the game, whatever week or whatever day this week, and she said herself and my other sister were going to go to the match because the girls need all the support they can get. So I was like, well, fair play to you. And I hope that a lot of people have that attitude and they're like, right, let's go out and support the women because they're in a...
You know what? Get down to Musgrave Park. You're never going to be disappointed in Musgrave Park. It's the perfect size of a stadium. Get down there. They always have chips, and you're going to be supporting the girls in green, for Christ's sake.
Well, have a drink. Meet your friends.
Yeah.
Catch up.
A pint inside in the Dolphin Bar. Jesus Christ. Why not? So you have to... You got to head to training.
I know, and I need to tell you first. Hang on, I was just looking at my fixtures. Huh?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, hang on now, where is it? Oh, see, I've written them here in Spanish time, so 3:15, I think. 4:15 for me.
That is this humble brag. Oh, sorry, did I write that in Spanish? Oh.
Sharks versus Munster at 1:30.
I know.
What? Is Sharks versus Munster at 12:30 at home?
12:30 in the day.
Class.
Rugby,
breakfast rugby.
Breakfast rugby,
Spain versus South Africa, Canada, USA, Scotland and Wales. Now, before we go, right, to read out this message I got from my friend. Now, I say friend, I haven't seen him in years.
It's not a wild inaccuracy that I've come out with about rugby, is it? So good. I need to correct the Tom fella on something there, is it? No? Or is it actually not?
That's exactly what he said.
Okay, fine. I'm okay with that. I like criticism.
No, this came in from my friend Phil. Phil, who used to live in Vienna when I lived there. So haven't seen him since then, actually, which I don't even know what year that was, but a long time ago. He said, "Hey, Anna, I hope you're well. I just wanted to send a quick message to say that I'm absolutely loving, in capital letters, the podcast. It's become one of my absolutely must listens of the week. Thought you'd both like to know that my newborn also happens to be a fan. If I listen to the podcast during the night or early morning feeds, she settles right down when she hears both of your voices. So thank you for helping out a new dad."
That's it. The podcast. We peaked. We cannot do any more. Sorry, Phil. That's actually the end of the podcast now.
He said, looking forward to the rest of your coverage and learning more about the women's side. So he's, getting into women's rugby now as default on the back of this as well. So I said, oh my God, I really needed this because I was in such a bad way over the weekend. And I said, we'll give the newborn a shout out. What's her name? And her name is Orla.
Fantastic. Are they living in Vienna and he's named his child Orla? Or where are they living back in Ireland?
No, he's actually from the UK, so I presume they're living in the UK at the moment.
Well, fair play. And you named your child Orla. Fair play to you.
Orla with the GH. So
Proper Orla. Oh, fair play to you.
yeah,
Good on
yeah.
you, Phil. Shout out to Orla. Well, what a time to start picking up rugby as a newborn. This is the perfect age. Just like a language,
That's it.
she'll know rugby better than anybody coming from a newborn.
She'll be playing in Twickenham someday.
Yeah, playing for Ireland and Twickenham, it's just with a name like Orla, she'll get in there somewhere. Well, that has absolutely warmed the cockles of my heart. Right, you go training. Ireland play this weekend against France. If you can get to Cork, 2:15, get to Musgrave Park. Chips, pints, and the girls in green. You go train and mind your gammy foot.
Oh yeah, I'm coaching tonight.
Oh,
so
good.
All right, Slán Amhaile.
It's the Banana and Bears Rugby Pod.